There's a bunch of stuff. I just got another email from about the event that the Jackson Garden Club of Jackson is doing. And of course, that's tied on to it's like a preview of what's going to happen in St. Francisville at the symposium this year. So tell me all about it.
There are plant sales. Festivals. It doesn't have to be a plant festival. In Mississippi,
no, there'll be some vendors.
There'll be some plants there. There'll be something garden oriented.
Yep.
Crosby Arboretum has some event coming up on the 24th and the 25th.
Oh, and they just had their Bug Fest. That was
Yes,
I saw
had
beautiful
Bug Fest.
pictures from there.
Yeah, I would
Really
love to
fun.
have been at the Bug Fest.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy.
No, it's fun.
Oh gosh, what else do I have? There's a Fall Community Education Day
Oh yeah,
with Eddie Smith.
Eddie Smith, yeah.
in Brandon at the
Good,
library. That's
good.
coming up. And this is just across the state line, but the Mobile Botanical Garden
Nice
has an event coming up October 9th, 10th, and 11th.
There's so many things. There's so much to
It's-
do. And of course, what I referred to a minute ago, our friends, sometimes people say, well, I don't really care this or that, over here, over there, what's going on. But sometimes when you can piggyback events together,
It
you
makes a
end up
huge
getting a
difference.
national speaker. And in this particular case, Barbara Sullivan, who is just terrific, she's going to be, she's from North Carolina. She's going to be speaking at the Southern Garden Symposium in St. Francisville, which I can tell you as a speaker is one of the most fun events to ever be speaking at, as well as to go to. I've attended it as a visitor, and I've also been there as a speaker, and it's a great event, speaking of just across the state lines. But this particular program that Barbara is bringing is just really cool. It's a morning with her. She'll be on her way down to St. Francisville, but this is going to be all about new, really easy to use resources for adapting to the changes that we see in our gardens, as well as accommodating our wildlife, and particularly the pollinators, but certainly a broader, mammals too. we count.
We do have them. Yes, we do.
But anyway, that's Thursday, October the 16th. Over at the Mississippi Museum of Art. And, of course, if you haven't visited their garden there,
you have to.
shout out to Holiday and
Yes.
her folks that do that one. It's a beautiful garden. It's a great collection of plants that you really would like to have in your garden, which is why they have plant sales a couple of times a year. But anyway, that's not happening this week. Barbara is happening.
Coming up, yes. And here's another one that's coming up, I believe. Is it just coming Thursday? The Canton Flea Market. There's
my.
always lots of yard art there.
There's it is a festival. It is a festival of
I
yard
have been
art.
one
That is
time,
true.
and it wore me out. I don't
I've
know.
been a couple of times. I believe that's one of the experiences I had that told me I did not have what it takes to be a vendor at events like that.
Yeah.
I can be a plant vendor at a thing. I do that, love that. But my goodness, that's a
Can you
whole
imagine?
woo-wee. It's a lot. So anyway, if y'all who are going, by all means, go have fun and tell us about it when you get back.
And of course, be sure and check out the plant collection at the state fair and see who gets.
That's
The
to me
blue
that's one of the
ribbons.
coolest things.
I think it's great.
We have another shout out. Hello, Lynn. There's a couple of people that always win something because they grow the most amazing plants. So if you've not ever done that, I'm gonna tell you, don't you're gonna go in, you're gonna look at the quilts, you're gonna look at the jams and jellies. Don't overlook the plants
No.
because it's all that. These are all what really make the community a stronger place. Your ability to go see what other people are doing.
And these people are like super proud.
Sure, of
I
course.
went one day and the lady was standing next to her giant begonia.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of gardening it, making
Well,
sure,
I mean,
making sure nobody went home with a piece of it.
I am a professional garden writer, and I can tell you that every time they put a flock of us on the bus, they don't search us, but they do say no knives, no plastic bags, no pinching, no tripping,
Right.
all that sort of. You can't have these. You're going to see them.
Right.
Take pictures, not cuttings. That kind of stuff. And I'm sure, because there's so many. There's some that are exotic. There's some that are just beautifully grown, and so I'm sure there's a temptation there to have a little snitch off the edge, but
I'm
don't
trying
do
to
that.
Remember where it was one of the large greenhouses I went to in Ohio when I was in production, and they wouldn't even let us take cameras in because they had all the new introductions in
that's
there.
Understandable.
And it's like
I
you
mean,
stick your hands in your pockets
Sure.
and you browse.
Sure. I mean, but this. horticulture seems like a very small world, and gardening seems like something that, people do in their spare time. But the confluence of those two things is a multi-zillion-dollar entity.
Yes.
And as a result, they have the same concerns for, somebody might take a line that I've written and I see it in somebody else's article. Okay, well, that's plagiarism, but on the other hand, what am I going to do about it? These folks have lawyers.
They do.
They have, and I'm glad they do, because that's the only way you can maintain your own properties in the creative world or in the plant world, which is also very creative by the time you get to selecting new plants and whatnot.
I used to call it the plant police.
No, true.
Yeah.
I mean, come
It
on.
exists.
They really have to take care of that sort of stuff. If you don't, then the rest of us wonder why we never get the cool plants.
Exactly.
Speaking of cool plants, I'm not catching. Oh, you need to lean in closer. I'm sorry. Move that over closer to you. He's giving us our levels in there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He'll get us right here in a minute. I, of course, am drinking Garden Mama blend coffee this morning because it is the best coffee that I've ever had. And those of you who are kind enough to be purchasing it are really making me very happy. mamaonair@yahoo.com, and we'll send it right to you. So let me know what you want. It's fun. We have beans and ground.
And if you've ever smelt a car full of coffee,
right now,
which I have,
it's a delightful smell.
It is.
So, I did not send pictures today because I knew how many you were going to send because I had seen them. There's a flower throwing across at SuperTalk.tv right now, or you'll be seeing it wherever you're seeing it, but SuperTalk.tv is where we put it up. And it is a really beautiful Ixora, which is Flame of the Woods. You usually see them in orange, and this one is bright yellow. It's a beautiful ball, Who's calling us?
We have Anna from Oxford. She had a question regarding eggplants on a off weekend from football. She was able to get out and walk the dog. No trouble this morning. So, Anna, you are on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, this is really strange. I was given two starts of eggplants, and I didn't know where to put them, so I put them in a pot, which I happen to have ready-made, and they both produced. And one of them has produced, and it's definitely eggplant, okay? Mm-hmm. One of them produced a small eggplant, which is sort of a mustard color. So, burnt orange, okay?
Okay.
And the other one has got an eggplant, which is black, like they usually are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what the burnt orange one is. They're both still kind of hard. I mean, they're small. So I don't know what they are.
I don't know that. I don't know a variety that is burnt orange, but I'm sure there is one. Somebody's going to tell us. Somebody will let us know. Interesting, though. Were they supposed to be the same eggplant that when they were given to you, or were they just seedlings, or what?
They were seedlings. They were given to me. I went to a lunch, and they were giving stuff away, so I just picked up two of them. And then, as I said, I didn't know where to put them. And the first one produced these mustard or burnt orange ones. And then now recently I've got one which is it's like you can put your hand around it, a black one, like they normally are.
Traditional. When you cut the orange ones in half, do they look like eggplants?
Well, they're too hard to cut at this point. I wouldn't want to.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they do.
Well, I mean, it may not.
And everything in the flowers,
that's a big family. It's a big family. It may turn out that it's a throwback seedling to something that we don't know. But
yeah,
I'm curious.
And on a similar point, at the local store, I bought some cucumbers, and one of them was very slow. The other one started producing what I thought were cucumbers, but they were round, like the eggplant, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're also burnt orange.
I don't know what that is.
I'm thinking, what have I got going on in my garden?
Well, you get round cucumbers, but they are intended to be that way. The ones that form round instead of filling out are usually not tasty.
Yeah.
They usually be all seeds. But they're all round cucumbers. I just don't think you cut that. Yeah, they're not really orange.
So guess what I just found?
What did you find for us,
It
Mark?
is a Turkish orange eggplant.
There is a Turkish orange eggplant.
Turkish orange eggplant. And it actually, in the photo that I'm seeing here, they kind of look like a small pumpkin or gourd with kind of green stripes to them. Is that kind of how it looks?
Well, they haven't got stripes yet.
Well, we shall see then. We
There you
will
go.
put our patience on and see what happens. I
Yeah,
knew there were
because
Turkish
hopefully
eggplants. I did not know they
they'll
were
grow and
orange.
finish before the frost comes.
I hope so. I hope so. I want to find out. I want to know all these
well,
things.
I'll keep you informed.
Thank you. I'm so glad today's a
Okay.
nice quiet day in Oxford.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Today, my friends, is in addition to everything else, there's always 16 different things going on that we try to talk about around here just because it's fun. But this particular month of October is Filipino American Heritage Month, or History Month, rather, not Heritage, History Month. And as a huge fan of adobo, I'm determined this month I'm going to learn to cook it. It's all I know about it is it's got vinegar and soy sauce in it to make the stew, and that's part of what tenderizes the meat as well as enhances the flavor and keeps it from just tasting like a bunch of soy sauce. So I don't know enough about it to talk well about it, but I'm going to. So if anyone has those recipes, mamaaonair@yahoo.com. I'll be interested.
We love our food.
Oh, well, yeah, we have to.
We have to. I brought Lance a bag of sweet bananas
They're
and
beautiful.
jalapenos.
Absolutely.
And
These are peppers, y'all.
yes, peppers. And I am here to tell you, I have not watered them in 2 weeks, and they continue.
Well,
to
and
make
and
peppers.
if they are deeply rooted like
Yeah,
these
they
are,
have
because
to
I know
be.
how long they've been there,
Yeah.
they're able to get enough water and they hold enough water. But the flavors are usually even better than usual when they're a little stressed. So you'll get just a little bit better. Also, frankly, the cell walls in the peppers themselves will be just a little bit sturdier, so they're more fun to pickle when they're in that slightly stressed category. You will find people who grow, I don't even know what you would call this, but super upscale vegetable things that they're going to sell for more money than any of us make. But those are the sorts of things that they arrange their entire space on a temperature gauge so that they can both change what temperature it is, how much light there is, and cause just enough stress to get that better flavor. I love that. I can't do anything that precise, but when it does happen, it sure is fun.
What I'm doing is not precise at
We
all.
have us another caller.
Good.
All right.
Yeah, we have Ed in Oxford, another Oxford caller. He had questions about fertilizing apples and asparagus. Ed, you're on.
Ooh, good choices. Hey, Ed. Hello, Ed.
Yeah, I fertilized my apple trees and asparagus both in spring and the fall, and I don't know if we can define this as fall at 80 and 90 degrees, but
Yeah. There's calendar fall and then there's weather fall, meteorological fall.
yeah.
What do you use? What kind of fertilizer? Hello? I think I lost him. I don't think he's there. Well, then we will talk about fertilizer for a moment. But first, let me answer this quick text. Christine in Mantee, when is a good time to move 2 small blueberries? And I have 2 large blueberries that I would like to move. So you answer this, Mark. When can we do this?
I would probably let it cool off a little more. Let the weather break.
Needs to rain?
It needs to rain. I mean, I don't know how it is where you are, but we haven't had hardly any rain forever.
Well, and I think at this point is a good time to go ahead and prepare the soil where you're going to move them
right.
to.
Start anyway, because it may be a struggle.
Well, it can be, but you
And-
can water that spot and work it up a little bit, and
Yeah,
at least have
get
it
it ready. Get it
for
ready.
when it's, because it's not going to be a good day to dig up the blueberries until their roots are nice and damp and,
Right.
the weather's a little better for transplanting. You're right.
You would probably risk really damaging the root system if you tried to dig when it's really dry.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, if you have to, in other words, I'll go back to I had to cut down an azalea that was in full bloom once because of construction. So I did it, and in fact, I have seen it since then, and it did come back. But if you have to dig up something like that, you have to cut off an equivalent amount on top, because otherwise the transplant shock is just going to be too rugged.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think? Root stimulator fertilizer, worm casting fertilizer. What do you
Castings,
like?
root stimulator. I don't use root stimulator that much, but I know a lot of people that swear by it. I lean more toward, worm castings. I love mushroom compost.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
I'll dig the hole and add a couple of shovels of mushroom, depending on how big the hole is.
Well,
of the
and that does
mushroom
help because it
compost.
not only helps build the soil, but it also provides some nutrients when the
It
roots get
does.
there. So
And
I like that
And
idea.
it tends, you know, the actual nutrient level of a mushroom compost is almost identical to that of root stimulator.
Interesting.
If you look at the numbers.
I know it's a good compost. It has, has all the studies and everything behind it. Well, back to the fertilizer question.
Yes.
I wouldn't necessarily be if you asked me when to fertilize apples, for example, I would say fertilize them right after they bloom in the wintertime and then fertilize them in June if you're still trying to grow the tree.
Right.
Because I don't want either Oxford or anywhere farther north than that, of course, we can be killing frosts. Say hello. Look at your calendar. I mean, it's 90 degrees today. In 3 weeks, it could be the opposite end of things in that part of the world. And for that, you don't want that healthy, leafy, brand new growth that the fertilizer is likely to start. So I'm going to use a fruit tree food. If you don't happen to know what one is, it's a complete fertilizer. Might be 5-10-5, might be 5-10-10, but it's going to have major and minor nutrients in it. But I gotta say, I don't know that I would feed in the fall. What do you think?
I would probably refrain from it. Like you said, our weather can be such a yo-yo, and it may
I mean,
sound
I have
like
on two different outfits today because I'm
Right.
going to be going from one climate to another.
Right.
So
Well, I have a miniature closet in my truck.
in your truck.
I do. Yeah, I would be afraid you would push new growth, and then, we could have our first frost. I think average is November 9th, but
Well,
I don't even know how they got
and
that
for
average.
example, and that is mathematics. So,
Yes.
Lance, tell me what else is. I think there was another question. I saw you.
Oh no, it was my normal Saturday morning call from Faye in West Point. Go Golden. I mean, go Green Wave. Yeah, that's my. I
Wonderful.
always look
Good
forward
morning,
to that.
Faye. Go Green Wave. I mean, somebody in my family went to every SEC university that there is, and then we go to the other place. Then we go to the Tulanes, and that.
Well,
that
and this
stuff.
is West Point, which is basically a college team in high school.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
and
Sure,
they,
yeah.
they have a great tradition, and she
that
knows I
funny?
love hearing from her on Saturday after
Her
a
own
big
Green
W.
Wave.
Yeah,
They won again last night, huh? That's good.
42-0. Yeah.
Well, Judy's got to take us out of here. But this is the Garden Mama Show, and I'll figure out what team we're talking about, and we'll be right back. The funny thing about October, or Socktober as they call it, is people drop music, people play football, people do all sorts of things. And somebody asked me yesterday what I thought of the Taylor Swift album, the new one. I said, of course, I haven't listened to all of it. It dropped at midnight the night before. I'm not awake then. But in general, I think she's a great poet. I think,
Yes.
she has a lot to say, and she could teach everybody how to express themselves in poetry. If that was all she ever wanted to do, she could do that. Truly an influencer. But when it comes to the music, I got to have a little crazy piano or a screaming guitar. I mean, I'm a rock and roll person because of that. But it's not to say I don't still like the poetry. So I appreciate her, and I understand that it's a different world that she's entered now, so I like that next era thing. But I have to have that crazy guitar, crazy piano. I just have to have that. It makes me happy.
Somebody mentioned, I guess it was probably midweek, and we had a question about forms of music. And I love blues, love jazz. Don't like rap, just don't. They're I guess early.
I like some of
probably a
it.
little hip hop, the earlier hip hop and that stuff I did.
Queen Latifah.
It was very musically inclined, but a lot of it seems to be very I need a band. I need to see them up here collaborating.
Yeah.
That's the way it's not a matter of not liking the music.
I don't
per
like
se.
things that hurt my ears,
Yeah, well,
but that
it's-
would be screaming metal, and I'm not crazy about that. I do have an upper limit in the metal world. I'm thrilled that everybody
Harsh metal,
loved.
yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled that everybody loved Ozzy Osbourne so much, but I never spent any money on him. So, I mean, it's just, I'm rock and roll. I'm not that, and it's the same thing that you're saying. It's this and then that. But, we could play show tunes and all of us would find something we enjoyed in that too, because there's something in every genre. You can give me Queen Latifah LL Cool J. I mean, we can go back to what my kids were playing.
I'll go with those.
What my kids were playing when they were younger. But there are parts where I feel like I'm that old woman. My mother used to say, "What are they saying?" And it was the Beatles. You know what I mean? And they were speaking clear, enunciated English. But I'm that way about a lot of it. You hear parts of it. I can hear the music, I can hear the beat, but I can't necessarily hear the lyrics. Well, if I can't hear the poetry, I'm not as excited about it.
And everybody notices I'm being really quiet
He's
because
being real quiet.
Nellie spent enough time in my truck traveling around
the
that
pop world is a very large part of Peach's world.
Yes.
And then it's fun. It's great. It's great for driving too.
Yes, I have very diverse.
Yes,
taste.
you do, and that makes a human being.
I will go from Taylor Swift to James Taylor.
Yeah, see.
I mean,
They are connected in name.
As they are.
Well,
but not exactly
There is a
anything
connection,
else.
right.
There's a connection there. Let's see what Keith's up to. Keith's texting us this morning from Blue Springs. Love Blue Springs. That's so sweet. I'm planning on planting some plum trees in the spring and was hoping to hear your recommendation on which variety would be best. Ooh, do you like plum trees, Mark?
I do. I do.
What do you want to plant? We got to have a pollinator.
Right.
So
I think Methley is
that's
a
a good
real popular one.
It's a good pollinator.
Good pollinator. I think Bruce is one that's real popular.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought of Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce is real
Do
popular.
you like? I like good old green gauge plums, but I also like the ones that are more like Santa Rosa that are kind of. But all of that needs the pollinator. So Methley or Bruce, and then whatever your other one you like would be our choices.
Exactly. Do a little research. Think about your space.
By that, I mean go down and ask the neighbor which variety that is growing in their yard.
The one that's covered with, say, do you happen to know?
Because there's sometimes that a local area, a local little environment will have a particular one that does particularly well. And, of course, the same is true of pollination times because when things flower, they got to be right. They have to work together. But I think that's why Methley is most usually at least one Methley. If I could do three, I'd do a Methley, a Bruce, and then some other one.
Do an assortment.
To get a little of everything.
Yeah, because they're all going to be a little different. Their timing is going to be a little different. The fruit will be a little different.
The pest problems with plums are slightly less than, say, peaches, but more than figs, because you will have to pay attention. There's a thing called the plum curculio, which is a teeny tiny worm that will crawl out of your plum and laugh at you if you don't control it before that happens. And it'll make you so angry, so you have to control that, But it's not that hard.
And I think that may be why I have not gone real deep into fruit trees because of some of those maintenance issues.
There definitely are some maintenance issues. There's even blueberries can occasionally need some attention, but not near as much. Blueberries and figs are almost easy. They're like landscape plants that also make fruit.
Yes.
But when we get into apples and pears and that whole that group, it's a different. They're more prized by the pollinators perhaps, but they're certainly more prized by the troubling insects.
And where's my note? It's so funny because I'll be sitting around and maybe have the news on and then ignore 90% of it, and then something pops up that catches my eye or my ear. How many, well, let me just say this. The U.S. produces 11.1 billion pounds of apples per year.
And we're probably not even the biggest producer.
No.
Wow.
11.1.
We like our apples, though. Huh?
That's a lot of apples.
And I will tell you, I have some friends that are in Illinois, and they were out apple picking the other weekend with the children and grandchildren and whatnot, and I just thought that looked like so much fun.
Oh, yeah. It has to be.
I don't want to have to do anything with them, but I would love to go to the party, the picking party. Then you have to cook them and put them up and do all that. It's like everything else, But a beautiful day in the orchard.
I also need to go do a U-turn in my neighborhood and see if the horse apples are falling yet.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
Isn't that a wonderful name? As if the horses were going to eat that, but they don't.
And then they got, isn't it how a horse bites an apple, or is it a horse bites a pumpkin when you grab the knee?
Horse bites an apple.
That's what I thought, yeah. So
you knew my grandfather.
Yeah, well,
I had no idea.
Of course, yeah. A horse is a horse.
He taught me to play spoons, too.
Now, there's a talent.
It's not called for very often, but it's a fun talent. You know, this discussion we've been having on and on and on about chromosomes and where are the sweet potatoes gazillions of chromosomes, and as a result, there's so many sweet potatoes. I mean, there's just, you know, yellow and purple and green and all those colors of leaves, and as well as differences in the potatoes themselves. We know that people are not nearly as diverse. We don't have nearly as many chromosomes. Guess what? Of all things, the Atlas blue butterfly has more chromosomes than anything else we've found yet. Now, why does this happen? Well, it has to do with the propensity of chromosomes to split apart, which is what makes differences happen anyway.
Right.
We understand that part of it. But they have 229 pairs. That's crazy. You wouldn't think that there would ever be a consistent population. You know, my limited understanding of science tells me, well, that's a lot of diversity, but it is a beautiful butterfly.
And it's a butterfly.
Yep, Atlas blues, they're gorgeous.
That's amazing.
And they don't duplicate; they split, and that changes everything else, of course. And of course, it opens a lot of doors for all of folks. Everybody says, "Why are they studying that junk? You know, waste of time, waste of money." No, it's not. If we understand a little bit more how it works, for example, if we find out that there's a chromosome that controls arthritis, or there's a chromosome change that can alter another condition or a thing, well, then we've learned something that's extremely valuable, and we're not going to find it out unless we do pure science. So that's what they're up to. But my goodness, the Trust Sanger Institute. Who knew?
Who knew?
I certainly didn't. I didn't study chromosomes enough to know all what they know, but wow, that's impressive. Very impressive. There have been some questions about that whole thing of when can I plant this, what can I do that. My emails have been interesting this week. But what kind of questions are people asking you? You've been out doing up things, making them fancy for the fall, you know, and I mean, come on. Garden design is your forte, not mine.
And you know, there's a ton of questions. You know, and this is the time of year when my phone starts really ringing again, and you know, the questions flying through.
Well, so and so decided they're going to get married out by my pool. What am I going to do? You know?
Exactly. You know, and one of the most painstaking, because I work with a lot of people that use annuals in mass, and one of the hardest things to tell people is sometimes an empty bed with fresh mulch looks better than what you have.
Than the remains of summer.
And then take a little break. And I know, you know, the pansies are out there, the snapdragons are out there.
Well, I mean, think of October, but it's so hot.
It's still a little hot. You know, and
a little hot.
It's cooler than it was.
What do you do when is watering when it's cool in the evening, you know, and it's so hot in the day? I mean, I have a question regarding that, not necessarily just with like your yard, but as things get a little crispy, but you get that cool at night, is there any mold issues you worry about, or is there something?
Can be.
Okay.
There definitely can be.
True.
You know, and one thing that people need to understand, and this goes to the people I work with all the time, as the days get shorter, you know, you may still have to water, but you probably won't have to water as much. You have to adjust.
That's true.
You know, and you know, if you're still watering your lawn or your pots or your flower beds at the same rate you were in July, you probably need to dial it back.
Not only are you wasting water, but you're also not benefiting the plant at that point. Like, for example, we will go to ryegrass for just a moment because
his favorite.
It's growing up his back at this point. He has so much of it, and that's a delightful experience. But here's the deal: it's just like transplanting broccoli in now when this weather's. You have to do it now, or we're not going to get any broccoli. But it's hot, and so it's one of those things where we if we set that middle of the day timer, just literally to push an arc of water, just an old-fashioned sprinkler over that patch. Those plants aren't going to suffer because you will be watering deeply, but you won't be watering as often. However, the heat in the middle of the day will not only slow them down, sometimes it'll wilt things and really slow them completely, tear them up. So I think it's important to understand that we can kind of adapt things a little bit. That we used to talk about doing that sort of treatment to things in August. Now, it's October, it's still hot, so we have to do
You're
that.
basically just watering enough to cool them down and get them through that peak.
Yeah, you're literally that. That's exactly right.
You know, and we're getting into that season where in the morning you go out and the grass is wet from
Yes.
condensation and the dew. So if you're overwatering and that's happening, that's when fungus and things can start setting in.
They'll literally walk across your lawn.
They will.
The fungi will take it,
I mean,
and that's not
so
pleasant.
dial it back. Pay attention to day length.
Mm-hmm.
You know, evaporation goes down. Another big one I'm getting is, you know, it's really dry, so the moles have come to the top of the surface,
Oh yeah.
and they are,
looking for dinner.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
tearing up people's yards.
Do you
really
think
bad.
cats just sit back and go, "It's mole season"?
I think some
like
of
we
them
do
do.
with this
I
deer
think
season
some
and
of them
stuff?
do,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I do.
I always love the mind of a cat. That's one of my favorite things.
You and that orange flock, you know, they're a pretty serious bunch.
But as I watch them, you know, they now that I have bait out there, basically ryegrass seed.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've fed deer and her fawn 150 pounds of corn and strawberry puree type rice in a week and a half. 150. She looks at me like, "Where's breakfast?"
Exactly.
You know, the fawn.
She wants the car keys.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
She stomps now, looking at me like, why is my corn not out here? But yeah, I thought it would be fun to, you know, throw a little corn out and watch them, and hopefully keep them away from the rye as it was
Trying,
growing. And
yeah.
So I planted two different forms of rye. One much more of a long, kind of a, you know, food plot rye, I guess, and then the other, you get what you pay for type rye. You know, you spin a little bit and.
Yes.
It looks like a golf course.
The idea is
So, yeah.
Turf rye.
the overseeding of the lawn is a different process than the trying to get something green in there. That's
But,
for
yeah,
sure.
it's been fun, and but yeah, I thought having a little bait away from my yard grass, you know, would be helpful with the deer because I do have quite a few. But
I tried that once with the squirrels. I tried putting them some food over yonder so they'd leave the bird feeder alone. It
how
was
did
a
that work?
joke.
Yeah, it didn't work
Yeah.
very well, huh?
Joke. They're like,
They're
sure,
like-
thanks for the corn. Now, where's the bird feeder?
We have two places to eat now.
Exactly.
I think that's what she was thinking, Peaches, is thank you. Now I have two locations.
See,
You know, when you go
we'll be
inside,
back.
we'll
Yeah,
be
we'll
back,
bring
yeah.
some friends.
Right.
It's like a franchise.
It's true. But you know, the reality is, very few people even get to live with animals the way we do. We get to have our wildlife and well, eat it too. We'll be right back. Well, because they only give us 2 hours on the radio. That's why.
You leave it so soon.
That's what I was saying last night. We got an hour and a half. I mean, we need 2 hours.
At least
you know,
y'all
this is
definitely do because y'all are bang bang
very
bang bang
fast. I don't like talking that fast. I like taking my time. It's supposed to be a stroll to the park.
bang. No.
No. We got to do it fast.
No, y'all. But the good news is there's so much to talk
Oh, man.
about.
I mean, you're not
know.
going to run out of info. And always compelling games. There was so many 1-point games last night. It was like, how many were there? I guess
parity.
we got to like 10. Yeah, it's a lot this year. But I was going to mention a funny little story. It's always great to be affiliated with a legend, a living legend. Her name being Garden Mama, of course. Well, a week or two ago, we had one of our listeners who had reached out to Garden Mama, and I believe we covered it on air. And he was asking about a setting for a wedding. And plants and flowers and all that. GM here gave him bang up advice as always. And so I'm at the landing at the counter, and this gentleman next to me looks over as I'm talking to the lady checking me out, who's just not checking me out like I'm look good, you know, like she's checking me out, just
Ringing you up.
taking my card and paying.
Funny, I didn't even think about that.
Right, yeah. So you know, I'm visiting with her and we're talking for a second, and the gentleman who I'd met before, and he was in like work clothes this time instead of like weekend clothes. So he looked a little, didn't have his hat on, and he looked at the lady. And he goes, "You know who this is, don't you?" And she said, he goes, "This is Garden Mama's right-hand man." And I'm like, "Well, hey, man, I can't take credit for being the right-hand man, but that's the greatest honor I could be given."
Aww.
And she looked at him, she goes, "I just thought he liked buying socks," because that's when I go into the landing. Literally, I think every day I've been in the landing for the last month, I've bought the best pair of socks known to man. I've got a whole.
He's serious,
Yeah,
y'all.
I mean,
it really
I got
is. I'm telling y'all,
trophies.
it's Socktober. It is seriously
if you want the
Socktober.
greatest socks of all time, go to the landing, the Royal Standard. I don't know
Who'da
where
thought?
they come from, but I told them, don't ever change whatever
don't-
you're doing.
don't mess with
Price
that.
is right, the
That's
quality's
funny.
good. But yeah, she looked at me like, yeah,
He
this
heard
is the
your
sock
voice.
guy. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
he recognized
he
your
actually
voice.
he knows something about gardening. Not really. I learn something about gardening each and every Saturday. But I figured, it's always nice to be affiliated with someone of greatness.
Now that we have himself here, Mark and I would like you to know that this is in fact vodka day, and it is also cinnamon roll day. And we're going to feed you in the next hour. So we're going to play What's Lance Eating?
That's
which do you
dangerous.
think it will
Cinnamon
be?
rolls and vodka.
There you go.
I want to know
Sound
who
like
puts
my night
these
getting on
calendars.
bartending.
I'm telling you, I want to know who puts these calendars together, because that is not frugal fun. I mean, these are all the same day.
You stop at the gas station, get a honey bun, and then pour get home, and you're like,
Yes.
hey, "What's cold in the
What's in
vodka?"
here? Let me
Yeah,
look
let's
in
do
here.
that.
I don't know, man. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's a shame that the audience can't hear us when we're off air talking about National Day of.
They cannot possibly. No, we don't allow that.
Oh, yeah,
we have to maintain
There's
just a
so
hint of decorum.
many.
But there are some we don't even talk about.
That's the
because-
funny thing on Friday nights too. We have 4 people with me. It's all 4 of us, and the conversations in the breaks are priceless.
Yeah.
Because you
Read
have
those
people.
texts.
Yeah, you have people that have been covering high school football combined for 60 years
Sure,
almost together.
sure.
So their knowledge is amazing.
I mean,
But,
y'all, literally, there's not a corner that y'all haven't touched at some point, because it's such a diverse bunch of people with different teams, different leagues. All of that. It's really a great bunch
It's
of
like
people.
gardening. I mean, it's a never-ending. You always
We
learn
always have
something new
something.
every
I
time
learn
you do
something
it.
new every day. I this week, I can tell you the absolute truth. This week, I learned that in fact there are several different versions of what's the name of that plant you just gave me yesterday? The grass.
Carex.
But the,
Or the
Marijuana.
no.
And now suddenly I have no idea.
Anyway, it's not liriope, but it's the other one. It's,
Aztec.
Thank you. It's Aztec grass. There are literally 5 different kinds of that, and I would have said, oh well, sure, there's 2. But it turns out they do actually grow at different heights and different lengths and different
really?
rates.
See, I
Yes.
didn't know this
I
either.
had no idea. I started reading this trying to figure out which one that was. And it led me down, the classic rabbit hole of information.
Right. And you ended up knowing way more than you needed.
Way more than I needed.
Yeah.
Paula's ready for some rain, too.
Hey, Paula.
She says that
My sinuses need rain.
the dogs walk in the yard. You can see the dust going around them. I did
when you
watch
pat
that
them on the
yesterday.
butt and it's just a dust cloud.
It's really,
It's time for some rain.
It's something or another.
And oh man, don't go near anybody on a riding lawnmower, because I'm not sure if
Why don't those people wear some kind of
I don't know.
breathing? I mean, because
I don't
they're
know.
literally
It's
they look like
a
pigpen,
cloud of dust.
in Charles Schultz.
Look like a Tom Clancy novel out there. Ghost Recon.
They have to
mowing the yard.
Because when you get home and you realize that your ears have dust in them, you've probably been breathing it. You need to do something.
I get to go
about
over to
that.
the Delta today, and last time I was there a couple weeks ago.
Has it rained yet?
No, that's the problem. Last time I
No.
was there, it was like a dust cloud from Africa with everybody who was out there on the tractors. And I'm thinking, I'm glad that technology has gotten to the point for the farmer where there's an encased cab.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's
I can
true.
only imagine
It's true.
what was going on before that, because just driving down 61, it was the dustiest. of dusty.
I will tell you one day
I'm looking
about
forward to it today.
the old hay harvests in Kansas without any. Oh man, that was a tough time on those
you can
folks.
grow some corn
Let's
in your
see.
hair.
Can you recommend an easy-growing carrot variety for Zone 8A? I absolutely can. Scarlet Nance, like the color is the red scarlet. That name, Scarlet Nance, Nantes. That's my favorite one in Zone 8. Zone 8A, Zone 8B, either one. There's also Chantenay is another one. They all sound so French
I
and
know,
fancy,
right?
but they're not. They're just carrots. But is there anything else that you like? I don't grow multicolored carrots, but
I have grown a purple variety one time, but I don't remember the name of it.
it did grow. You were able to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and carrots are a lot of fun to grow. And I mean, you go get you some carrot seeds, get several different varieties.
Whatever's on the rack.
Plant 3 feet, 4 feet of each variety, and keep a journal, know what they are, and next year you'll know exactly what to do or what not.
Is that?
to
I
do.
mean, is that one of the best ways of testing? Your regions and zones is just plant
Sure.
a variety of things
Sure.
and then make some notes.
When you
or-
see those lists, it'll say recommended Comet for broccoli or, Gotham, this or that. Anyway, those things have been through rigid trials. They have been at least 3 seasons in most cases to test to see if at their germination rate, their maturation rate, and also, frankly, that the seeds will still be available after they're recommended, because there have been things where they recommended them and all of a sudden the seed crop died out, so that everything gets
it's
thrown
the tulip
off.
problem.
It's the tulip problem, exactly.
The tulip problem.
And, we talk about, for example, Mississippi silver skin crowder peas. That's not easy to find. Neither is pink purple hulls from Angola, from the prison program over in Louisiana. There's things that are just in their little individual worlds, and when you can find them, you better save some seeds. It's absolutely true. I found some carrots that are actually in a roll of paper that you just till the 6-inch row and roll them out. Those are very handy.
Yes.
And when they come up and
What
work
do you
for
mean?
it,
What is that?
it's in paper enclosed seeds. Sometimes when you go to a wedding, you'll get cards, and it's one of the things, instead of whatever else you might receive as a thank you for coming to the wedding, there'll be a little thank you card, but actually the whole card itself is impregnated with seeds. So then you can go and plant those, and a lot of that works. There was a fella in
Yes.
Raymond a number of years ago that rolled out one of those roll-up carpet things. Now, of course, he tended it daily. I mean,
Right.
and not every plant in any of those combinations necessarily are going to grow in your space. But yeah, there's plenty of paper for all of that. I mean, it's fun.
Another technique for carrot seeds is sow your seed and cover them with burlap and keep the burlap moist. And then when they start sprouting, you remove the burlap.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and find out what Lance is eating. This is the Garden Mama Show.
Beautiful, but
Yeah.
they can be a little this time of year, or and others. You don't get much green. It just kind of they're just kind of there. And I know with your potted plants and some of the big bang for the buck stuff that you do for curb appeal, I've seen it. It's amazing. But also some of the lower, more
Lower
ground
growing.
covering
Things
color.
that'll stay.
Yeah, things that stay. So just some
Well,
ideas.
you've played right into my hand.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I was so tickled by when we were working together at the Magnolia Garden Fest, which, by the way, we'll be back next year, the planting of a combination pot. People worry about all kind of stuff. I know I have worry lists in my head. If I take this cutting, what's going to happen to the other? Which direction will the growth go? And all these kinds of things. But when it comes to the roots of plants, there are people that don't even want to touch them. Tell me about. Well, first of all, let me just explain to you that when Mark does his thing to plant a combined pot of big plants that are going into a big pot together, the gasps of the audience are audible. Tell me all about it.
That was a really fun day with a ton of friends, garden friends. But that had to have been my highlight, was just scaring everybody to death.
And it's unusual because you're not usually very violent. Generally
Right.
speaking, you're a nice guy. Let's work this out. Da-da-da-dee-da-dee. Man, he is ripping those pots off those plants and tearing
Stomping
into
on them. Well, when you have a small shrub, or even an annual, if it's been in the pot for too long, the root ball is just a circle. It's round. And when you're transplanting these things, you've got to break that root ball up. And the day we were at Renaissance doing that, I used a razor knife and frankly laid them on the ground and stomped them, because an asparagus fern has a root ball that's almost indestructible.
The roots are as big as your little finger.
Yeah, I mean, you have to break those things up, and so many people, when you go in their yards or look at their pots and they're like, I don't know what's wrong, and you pull on it and it pops out. It's like pulling a cork out of a wine bottle. Wrong. I mean,
The roots have never had a chance to go anywhere else.
to go anywhere else.
I get you.
And, basically, when you cut those roots, like we were trying to explain to people that day when they couldn't believe I was stomping on that plant, that, you have to break that up to encourage new roots.
Yeah, we want them to stay together for a long time. This is not, you can make if you're doing an event and you just make a combination pot, you basically put all the pots together and put some mulch on top of it, and they're all sitting there in their own world. But it's only for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay, after that, they're going to start to decline quickly. So that's the other reason is actually planting things is different from decorating with them.
Exactly. If there's company coming Saturday and, we need to doll this up, you might just plug them in.
Yeah, we can do that.
But, when you're doing an educational demonstration on showing people how to do
we
this
can actually get this thing to grow
correctly.
It's an entirely different thing.
And, I suggest you do it anyway.
Yeah, me too.
When you buy
especially because it's so much fun to stomp on those pots.
Oh, yeah.
It goes against everything you think that you've been taught, but what we're teaching you is how to actually make them grow.
And, disclaimer.
We have somebody calling us.
We do. We have
Yay.
Lee from Jackson. He had some questions for Garden Mama and Mark Patrick here regarding daffodils and spider lily bulbs.
Oh, fun. Good morning. Welcome to the program, Lee. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I have a bed of daffodil bulbs and spider lily bulbs that I've just finally got the energy to harvest. They've not done well just because I think over the years increasing shade, but I'm wanting to transport those from Jackson to Oxford, Mississippi. I've got a 5-gallon bucket full of bulbs, and I don't want to lose them. And I'm not educated enough to know what I should do now with them or in the interim. Do you have a suggestion?
Drive fast, because this is the right time to plant them. That would be my best advice. You don't want to try to hold them because fall is the time to plant both the spider lilies and the daffodils. And that's great. I mean, you're right on time. Can
I leave them in the 5-gallon bucket, or should I put them in a mesh thing? Or I'm gonna try to plant them in the next week. Is there anything I need to do between now and the next week or two?
If the week turns into a month, it's a different story. But just for a week or so, they can all be there together.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Okay.
I would imagine they're pretty dry, so it's not like they're going to rub against each other and start rotting. That would be your biggest problem, but that wouldn't happen in a week.
One more question. Do you know if
Sure.
the spider lilies are deer resistant, or the deer love spider lilies?
That's a good question. I would say because there's so many of them, the deer must either really like them and want to look at them, or not really care for the way they taste. Because
Right.
they're one of the remnants, as you well know, from an old house will be spider lilies and daffodils, and they're there because nothing eats them.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Thanks
What a
so
great
much for the information.
project.
Enjoy listening to your show in the morning.
Thank you
so
very much. What a great project. Enjoy. That'll be fun.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. There's always that question about what the next thing is. What do you do with it? And
Right.
I'm always reminded of the first meeting that I went to of the Master Gardener, maybe not the first, but that first month or so that they were organizing Master Gardeners here in Mississippi, and they were kind enough to let me come play with them. And we had a bit of a trade and this and that, and you don't know people, you don't want to say no, so this person gave me a bushel basket full of daylilies. Oh, thank you so much. They were not blooming or anything, they were just ready to be transplanted. I was like, oh, thank you so very much. Forgot all about them in the back of my truck under something else. They were in there for 3 months, and they are, as we speak, growing.
And they're still here.
They're still here.
Yeah, well,
But I tortured them, but nothing bad happened. Now, I'm not saying that will always be that way, but,
So I guess it's been about a year now since the Garden Mama turned me into the caladium keeper.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, my gosh. You should see all of them.
Isn't that fun,
had a
though?
harvest.
And the good news about it is that even though they've gotten slightly more expensive, caladiums are still not pricey when it comes to bulb world.
Not for what you get.
Because you get months and months and months, even years and years if you'll store them, just for a fairly basic storage. Don't let them rot.
Well, I want you to know I've done it again.
You've done it again.
I've done it again.
And there's no room anywhere in the house, but the caladiums.
I've got them
Let's
stashed.
see. Here's a question: do I need to wait until the first of next year to prune non-flowering hedges, or is it okay to go ahead and do it now? I don't know where you are. If you were south of Hattiesburg and you wanted to prune them, I don't think there's any problem with that. But if you are someplace farther, someplace more likely to actually get cold in the next 2 months, may or may not happen anyway, but I wouldn't do it unless, and I always tell you this, if there's a branch of a shrub that is sticking out and rubbing your car every time you drive in your driveway, cut it off. Cut it off as often as you need to. It's your plant. It's in your way, okay? But if we're trying to grow a plant, we would really rather do that at the point where it can start out and burst out with some new growth, and that would be at the very beginning of spring.
Yeah. Mississippi has, such a broad
How many
range of
springs?
temperatures.
Yeah.
Like this second spring thing I've been talking about lately.
You're so right.
It is.
You're so right.
And the garden centers right now are just like Candyland.
So beautiful. So many
love
wonderful. I mean, overwintering annuals, but all the beautiful shrubs. There's even some perennials here and there.
What's funny is that if you notice this, and you may have noticed it and thought about it, the crowds in a garden center in the spring have this panicked attitude.
Sometimes
grab,
they do.
grab.
Yeah, it won't be here. Yeah.
Things in the fall, everybody just
It's a lot
they
more
wind down
relaxed.
and they're not as
well, and
panicked.
people tend to be planting for the long term.
Yes.
If you're planting shrubs and trees, you're probably not as anxious about it as if you're trying to get those petunias to bloom for Mother's Day, or whatever it is in the springtime that you're trying to do. So I get that. It's a different world. Plus, I've probably said this 100 times over the years, but if you want to know somebody at your local garden center, don't go try to meet them in the spring.
Right.
Go now.
Go meet them now.
Go introduce yourself to the manager. Say, hey, tell me about your staff. What y'all doing? Here's what I need to know. Blah, blah, blah. Just information. See?
That's a great tip.
I mean, it's just, I think it's important.
I haven't seen as many hummingbirds this year as I did last year, but I will say lately, the Mexican petunias that have bloomed, boy, they're all over those things. There's a couple of them that just love it. I never noticed
really
that
are.
in past years.
It's a favorite when it's sometimes in dry weather like this, it's the most valuable.
I was going to ask you, because it seemed like I've seen other homes that have, not near where I live, but I've seen the petunias around, and I go, I know that plant,
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it had such an attractant to a hummingbird, and I guess that makes a good point where less is bloomed and much is dry. They're flocking to that thing,
Well, and the
man.
deeper the tube, of course, the more nectar there's likely to be. So there's that part of it. That was part of what that last night I put out on the Facebook about the business about the bees and their magnetic field. Because that's what attracts the pollen. The bee exerts a magnetic field. It's there, but the reason why it's trying to get some nectar. But the reason it gets the pollen is because of the electromagnetic field around the bee itself. And of course, people who say, "Well, that's just baloney," need to look at true science because that's how you find it. But we all have that reaction to things. There's always a second thing that happens. There's always another implication. And in the case of bees, the implication is, thank goodness they're going to take the pollen with them because we need them to move it around. That's their job.
It's so funny that you brought up Mexican petunia, Lance. I did a small job yesterday for this really sweet
There's no
lady.
small jobs. There's just small minds.
Oh, stop.
There he goes.
And she has this beautiful little postage stamp garden
Oh, yeah.
that obviously...
Like garden home size.
Yes.
Yeah, small.
Yes. Obviously, somebody put a lot of thought into the landscape because there's a ton of really cool plants in there.
Nice.
But at some point, somebody introduced Mexican petunia.
Oops.
I bet I've removed
Yeah.
80 pounds.
I was going to say 2 acres of it from one little spot because it grows so fast. It's like...
I love it, though. It's a beautiful
It's a beautiful
dark
plant,
green
but it needs its own space. It's like clerodendron bungii, cashmere bouquet. It's a beautiful plant, but it will run right over other stuff. I mean, it'll.
It's not good in competition. It likes to win.
It wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it always
unfortunately.
Just win, baby.
Laura from Flora wants to know if she can split iris now. I would say yes. I would say absolutely. There's even if you're going to replant them immediately or if you're not. Either way, I think this is a fine time.
I
to
learned
do
a
that.
lot about tilling recently with an industrial tiller. That thing will do the job. But back when I was in North Mississippi, one of my clients would give me bulbs a good bit, and she would always say, after about 2 years, till them all, and split them up in the off season, and they'll come back in 2s and 3s.
Yeah,
and let me tell you,
that's
that
true.
was the best advice.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Anybody ever gave me when I was
Nobody
learning.
ever follows that advice
I
either.
did it 2 or 3 years in a row, and man, I had absolutely.
I hear from the folks that don't do anything and they wonder why the bulbs quit blooming. And of course, they quit blooming because they all sank. they all got too tight. Their leaves got too tight together. Their flower stems cannot break forward, and that's the reason why we try to break them up and move them around. It's also the reason why, if we're going to plant a hillside of daffodils, we throw them over our shoulder rather than putting them out, like little soldiers. Yeah. We're trying to get them in a more natural pattern, and that's part of that work too. It's fun. This is a very handsome raccoon here in this have-a-heart cage. Anyway, Peaches, you have another front bed project you're being. I'm pretty sure we're sounding good this morning. I'm pretty sure that might be Ray. I don't know who that is exactly, but somebody else has a front yard project for you, and there's a raccoon in a have-a-heart trap. I don't know if those two things go together, but I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
Yeah. Speaking of raccoons, one of my favorite full moons is coming up. And the Hunter's Moon.
Yes.
And it's named that just simply because of the season.
So wonderful.
Yeah,
such a beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
The colors, the ambiance, I don't know.
The leaves.
I will tell you, much like I have attempted to have a version of Autumn Leaves to play in this show, and it's just awful. The music, there's 4,000 varieties, and all of them are going to put you to sleep. Neil Young's Harvest Moon is the same way. It's an absolutely beautiful song. If I played it here, we would all cry.
Let's not do that.
That's why we don't use that on this program. But there's people that will say, well, you should be playing all of those things, And it's like, no, you have to listen to the ones that sound good. You can't just play the music you like on the radio.
I've got a great Halloween playlist.
give it to me.
I can't play what I want on the radio?
Well, you can because you're in charge.
That's right.
You can do whatever you want.
That's right. He turns off the microphone. We have to go home.
I get to do what I want is play the music, and as long as it doesn't have bad words in it, I don't get many complaints. So.
You don't, and I only get a few. Because people know that for years nobody else got to touch my music. Mm-hmm. I picked all of it. There's sheets of it where my playlists and everything, and he has taken that over the years now, and I'm very happy about it. But I did send a new bumper this week.
Yeah, I'm
still
right
send
out
new
of the
stuff
gate
in.
too. I love it when you send me a new one.
Fun music.
I have an oldie but a goodie loaded up for when we come back in, so don't cheat and look at it.
I won't.
Yeah. I saw you.
Is it the Addams Family?
No. But that.
Laura says, do I mean to cut them down and chop them up? Actually, I don't. I mean to, if they have foliage on them, cut that off and make yourself like a fan of leaves. So you're not cutting all the leaves off, but you're making just enough to keep transpiring a little bit and not dehydrate too quickly. And then when you lift the whole thing up, because it has been pretty dry, they'll probably fall apart and you'll have individual plants. But if they don't, use your hands to do that. I like a gloved hand with the little nubbies on it to do that work.
I promise you, I have broken every rule about when you transplant iris.
And they all bloom anyway.
When I transplant iris is when I feel like it.
Well, there's a certain thing to be said for that. We have the traditional advice, which is to dig and divide in the season opposite the bloom, but we have about 3 months of iris bloom. So it depends on which iris it is. And then at the same time, if we do that and we wait, we may end up with a fall that doesn't have any days you can work in it before it suddenly turns cold. And on the other hand, June may be just perfect. Go out and, start digging up your clumps and get them ready for whenever you end up planting. I mean, you're right. It's just whenever you feel like it, whenever they feel like it to a certain extent.
What is the depth? I have that chart. I don't have it memorized, but what is the deepest bulb you plant? I knew it was about 6 or 8 inches.
The bigger the bulb, the deeper. That's
the rule of thumb there.
Crinum bulbs that are bigger than softballs. Mm-hmm. You have to get them in the ground, or else when they send their shoots up, they can't support themselves and they fall over. Okay. They literally they'll pull themselves out of the ground. I've seen that before.
I've learned a lot looking at those charts of bulbs. I never knew that there was a range of depths that you want to play with.
And those charts are kind of misleading for us here, because if we don't want to plant anything more than twice as deep as the bulb is tall, but you will see things that it says to put that 2-inch tall daffodil 6 inches in the ground. You may not see it again in our soils.
Exactly.
Our soils are kind of heavy. Whoa. First of all, you probably couldn't dig that hole, but second of all, it's going to disappear. So we go no more than twice as deep as the bulb is tall. Does that make sense? That makes sense.
Did you get that, Lance?
All right. We have to step aside, come back, feed Lance, and talk about sweet olive trees and one thing and another. We'll be right back. Y'all are so much fun with these texts. I have to tell y'all, you know that October is not just, I mean, there are pumpkins and there will be Halloween, but it's also entirely cinnamon month and cinnamon roll day.
There you go.
So I'm here to tell you
That the cinnamon broom's coming soon, I'm sure.
very soon, all of that good smelling stuff. And you know what else smells good is the Vetterverse. The brooms that if you can get that.
Oh, you meant Eddie Vetterverse.
Well,
No,
that's kind of that. It's kind of that world. It is, in fact, but it's one of those things that you don't run into except at this time of the year. You know, being the side of the
Right.
produce market down in the corner, standing up in a bucket someplace, and you go, look at those brooms. What is? Oh, they smell good.
I have one in the back seat of my truck.
Well, it's a permanent air freshener.
It is.
You know, it's really very nice.
And the
really
hotter
good.
it gets, the better it
It's
smells.
right up there with the coffee in my car. Everything has this wonderful,
go. It's
It's kind of like a
delightful,
zero bar. The hotter they are and more melted, the more delicious
Oh,
they
that's
are.
funny. I never thought of that. I do like a zero bar.
Oh, yeah, sit them on the dashboard for about 20 minutes in the sun and then eat it. It tastes so much better.
How do you get it out of the paper at
You
that
just,
point?
take the back, that seam, when you open it up,
Yeah.
pull it on the seam and then just eat it like,
I learned
you're
so
making love
much.
to it or something. But that's about what you have to do to get it out of there.
Okay.
But it's amazing.
I'm gonna work on that.
It's like the difference in like cold macaroni and cheese versus hot macaroni and cheese with bacon.
Well, that's a
in it.
rather
Yeah.
large difference.
That's what I'm saying. It goes from a stable treat to one that kind of blows your senses once it gets. You loosen up that white chocolate, and it tastes like marshmallow cream.
I learned so much
So
from
good.
it.
Well, I'm here to tell you, as the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup guy, don't do that with those.
Hey, I'm going to give you a helpful hint, and I don't know if I really want to do this because every time I mention something on air, I get wormed out of the equation.
Uh-oh.
Like a ham and cheese croissant. Everybody's buying
Now
them before I
everybody
get there.
wants them.
But I did learn, you go to Lowe's, buddy, they got a contractor's pack of Reese's Peanut
Oh,
Butter
no.
Cups.
Oh, my gosh.
25 of them for $9. And it's like they came out of the factory. I ate 20 of them the first day. They're so freaking good.
Where is the video?
No, I know. I
I
mean,
want
right?
this.
I mean, I couldn't even barely wake up the next day. I mean, it was,
I mean, there is a hangover.
Crash.
Yeah, there is a hangover.
But I promise
from
you,
all
the
of that.
contractor pack of 25 over there on the contractor side. I
That's
saw it as
funny.
I was checking out the other day.
They
and
have
I,
Nestle Crunch.
I don't know, but I mean, there were 25 of them for $9, and they literally the best Reese's I've ever had. They're so soft.
And they do this, of
Because
course.
they're at Lowe's,
Well,
they're the best.
they do this, because they think that we're all going to be doing, Halloween candy at the door, but they don't realize that half of this is going to be eaten by all of us
Oh, I was
first.
eating all of them
that's
before I
the,
got
you
home.
know.
They were so good. Yeah.
Exactly.
funny. Well, it was in fact, the discovery of cinnamon and the importation of it. I don't mean the discovery of it by the people who grew it and knew it for thousands of years. I mean by the Western Europeans who took it back to Europe with them and then to the bakers and the this and the that. This is how we ended up with cinnamon rolls and cinnamon buns, and it's why there's one in every culture. I did not know this. I know the ones I like, and we're going to give a shout out to Monroe in the Jackson market because his are fantastic.
Oh, yes.
And we're also going to give a little shout out to our friends at Whataburger because they do that better than anyone. The standard in my life. This is the truth, y'all. The first blueberry I ever ate was Duncan Hines blueberry muffin mix. Okay, I had never seen a blueberry. I mean, I had never. That's how old I am. We didn't grow them down here then. They were in the woods, but you didn't know that's what that. Anyway, so that was the first of that. Cinnamon rolls. First one I ever saw was in the Pillsbury can. So
Right.
everything is judged from that, Well, we can go way ahead on the cinnamon thing. If we want to go to Sweden, for example, we can add in cardamom and get kannabula, which I love that. That's a delicious thing. But the Schnecken from the Germans has a little cinnamon in it, but it's got so much honey, how would you ever know? But it's still a snail. It's still a rolled bun. And the difference is that there's some that are rolled and there are some that are not, and all of
Yes.
that. We're not. We're just connoisseurs. We're not. We're not going to rate them today. I don't think.
Consumerism. That's
But
what I'm involved in.
but what is more important for you, Lance? Is it the bite of the cinnamon, the bite of the sugar, or the pastry itself?
The nap and crash afterwards. the dream.
You can't do that. You have to drive today, so you can't do that.
I thought he was going to say the icing.
I love all of the
Oh,
cinnamon
maybe it is the
roll.
icing.
I mean, I
Yeah.
really do. and when they're warm,
There has to be enough cinnamon, or I am disappointed.
I like inside the folds where if you pull it back, it's just all that.
It's got to be there.
Goodness,
Got to be there.
just caked in there. But at the same time, I want there to be a very good icing on it. I don't want to just bread and kind of glaze. I like to have that thicker icing on it too as well.
I like that. We know, there's a bunch of different approaches to this. Some people feel like the cinnamon itself is the whole point, and I think you have to have enough cinnamon for it to make any sense at all. But
Absolutely.
I love that we did. We have the Chelsea bun, which has currants in it. And we have all of these things. But when it comes down to it, everybody knows cinnamon buns of one sort or another, or cinnamon rolls, one kind or another. It's just funny.
One of the favorite things was the pan. The Pillsbury pan. You'd pull them, you unroll it like biscuits and jam them in that biscuit pan with the edges on it, throw them in the oven for a bit, and then as soon as you break it out, if you could actually get the icing on them without eating the cup of icing, you've accomplished something there. It's kind of like cookie dough. If you could eat the cookie dough before you make cookies, then why do you even make cookies, right?
Oh, dear, dear, dear. See, this is just so difficult.
I want to take a second and mention this.
Oh, please do.
One of our gardening friends who met us at the Flower Festival last week before, is in the Jackson Camellia Society.
You might not have known there was one.
There is.
But there is. And they're cool. They're very cool people.
Actually, I have a QR code that I'm going to post on my social media if anybody is interested in joining the Jackson Camellia Society. So if you'll look me up on Facebook, it always not hard to find me.
It is Mark Patrick. It's not Peaches, right?
It's Mark Patrick Peaches, and I'll share that.
Okay, Mark Patrick Peaches. Okay.
I'll share that QR code today.
Good.
If anybody's interested.
Absolutely.
Got to be a camellia lover, and we're coming into camellia season.
I have kind of a difficult question to answer. This is in Forest County from Jeff. At what age or how tall does my sweet olive tree become before it starts producing olives? It's about 10 years old. The sweet olive is not an olive producer.
I was going to say mine ain't never produced
It produces a seed pod, but it's teeny tiny and obscure and is not an olive. Olive trees themselves are a different genus. And they do take, like most fruit trees, they take at least 5 to 7 years, sometimes longer in the case of olive trees. But I wouldn't trade my sweet olive for a bearing olive, because it's another one of those things where I'm honestly the one who says, who thought of that? Who thought of putting these things that are hard as rocks into a cask and leaving them there for a year to become olives, or however long it takes? I don't make olives, so I don't know. But who thought of that? Well, we don't know. Somebody did, thank goodness. So
somebody that was forgetful. Like, where are my keys?
Where did this go? Yeah, where'd they?
That's kind of the whole mindset there. A lot of that is, I've thought about that question that we've presented. You have many times. Who thought of that? I think it was just dumb luck. Like something happened and they went, all right.
Look what's over
that's
here.
where I left
Look
that.
what's over here. Yeah, that's right. Somebody
then they got
moved
Mikey
out
over here that goes, hey, why don't you eat that, Mikey?
Yeah.
And they taste good,
man.
too.
Yeah,
Someone moved
great.
out, and there was this cask of things over there in the corner. Somebody else found it. I guess. I don't know. I will tell you this. I wasn't even going to talk about this today, but I was so fascinated by it. There's a woman who does podcasts about theologies, and she talks to people with different scientific, because they're all some sort of ology, archaeology, anthropology, but these are very obscure. There's actually an entire ology that is dedicated to the study of otters. Turns out that otters are not the cute critters that we've always heard that they mate for life. They don't. We've heard that they have a pocket.
Promiscuous?
Yes, that they have a pocket that they put their favorite rock in. They don't. They might hold one underneath their arm, but it's not their favorite one. It's just the one they're using right then. They'll get another one tomorrow. I mean, it's just really funny, the things that you learn from people, somebody that actually studies their behavior as opposed to these sort of romantic versions of them. So I want to know who's studying us. And who's going to tell the actual story of us?
I think it's what is it?
I mean, besides the Heavenly
aliens,
Father.
that comet that's coming by. I think
that might be that one.
That's
It might be that one.
And they do have cinnamon brooms up there.
Well, they better.
Yeah, they
I mean, what
do.
do they do? They better.
Pumpkin spice and cinnamon brooms. That's why it's showing up now. I think they're bringing a new.
That's funny. I like it. I'm telling you.
So, Lance, I have a quick question. Is it giblet or giblet?
Giblet, baby. I mean, if you're from down here, it's giblet.
But we can make a joke with
And
giblet.
it's like food, food
But giblet
is,
can be a joke. It's okay.
yeah, giblet, and you can say that. But giblets is what I would go by, and then
Okay, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all something that you're not going to believe. I'm going to say this.
and I like victuals too.
Paula once, I heard somebody say that day, nobody says vehicle. I said, yeah, they do. They say
Victuals.
vehicle. They do.
I like victuals.
Anyway.
Pickle.
Victuals, like that's
Yes,
the innards.
you put that C in there. Yeah. Paula wants to, I think, propagate Mom's sweet olive tree. Okay. Now here's where we would have the discussion about semi-hardwood and how slow it is, and you should probably just go buy one and da-da-da-dee-dee. But if you want to propagate that particular tree, this, I think, is the point for those commercially made air layer kits. They're cheap. You literally are just you're attaching this thing to the branch, and basically you do it 5 or 6 times so you get 1 or 2 of them to root. But it does that same process that air layering does of wounding the stem so that it's encouraged to make roots and giving it a place for the roots to go. But they're commercially available. They're made out of plastic, and you clamp them on. Yeah. That's what I would do if I wanted to propagate a sweet olive.
My sweet olive basically died.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean it was one of those things I learned from it. I thought it was dead, and just basically out of sight, out of mind. The pot was fine, the soil was fine, everything seemed to be okay, but for some reason it just petered out. And it was about a 2-foot branch. I would say the base of the tree I left, just sat it over there, stayed in the sun for a little while. Then all of a sudden, where Hawk had chewed on the bottom down there, it came out
that
of the
little
side.
wound,
Yeah,
see?
little wound. So I've got a 5-foot sweet olive tree now that came out of the side of the old dead,
I love that.
thought, about 4 inches up from the base where the soil and the tree meet. And I was like, I think this is not going to happen. Oh, it's absolutely
it's there.
has its whole life of its own, and it's a sprout off of. So
that's wonderful.
Is that going to last?
Yeah.
Do I need to cut
That
back
one sprout has all those roots underneath it to support it.
So the dead piece that's still about 1.5 foot, I'd kind of pruned it back down. Can you take it down
Take
to
that
the
down. Yeah.
to the
Cut
edge?
it all the way
Okay,
down.
perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. That's a great one. Here's the other olive question: who was brave enough to eat the first one? It's another good question. It's another good question.
Who was brave enough?
Who ate the first oyster? That's my other. It's like, okay, we watched
An otter.
we watched the critters taking the thing apart, but who was the first human to follow that path? It was not Lance.
Yeah, I want to know the first person that put blue cheese in an olive. I love that.
Yeah, that's a win-win right
The
there.
whole garlic pod.
Who said, hey, let's put that in there. This is going to work great.
Well, there's a lot of blue cheese left over here, and we got all these olives, so we have to do something. I think, I really do believe that sometimes it's a marketing thing, but I think sometimes somebody just said, well, my mother used to do this, or my great uncle did that, and let's see if anybody's in. That's how we ended up with pickled green beans. They're wonderful, but somebody's uncle pickled them, and now we have Bob and people like that to be happy doing them. Will perennial hibiscus grow from the seed pods they put on after blooming? They certainly have that potential, Pam. Yes. Thank you for sending that in from Sardis. I would say this is a good year for collecting seed because it has been so dry. We always hope that things can get pretty much dry on the plant before we have to, avoid a rainstorm and the fungus that can come after that. So this is probably a pretty good year for it. Clean the seeds out. Don't keep all the chaff. I'm one of those people that tends to put all those little seed pods into an envelope, and then you come back about 6 months later and you wonder why there's bugs in there. Well, because they were in there when you put them in there. So clean that all out first, and then just store the seeds until you're ready to plant them.
On the hibiscus, what am I looking for though on the seed pod? I mean, like I don't.
The flower closes around the seeds where they're forming.
Okay.
And the sepals and stuff bend back like that, and it just becomes a little nose. And it's brown usually. In weather like this,
I know what you're talking about.
It's going to be really brown.
Yeah, the problem that happens, of course, is that they fall off or they expel all their seeds before you collect them. So you want to catch them while they're still closed.
I'm going to open up a moonflower seed business.
A moonflower seed business. Okay.
Wow, I've never seen so many.
Well, it's been a beautiful year for them.
Oh, yeah.
I love nothing more than a pergola covered in moonflowers. It's just a sweet, sweet, sweet sight.
One of my favorites. Can I read this very funny text I got from a gardening friend?
Please do.
You got 50 seconds.
50 seconds. So I learned the hard way that milkweed juice in the eye is literally a medical emergency.
Oh, dear.
Careful, people.
Yeah, not only wear your gloves, but pay attention to where you're putting your hands.
That's
very
your
true.
eyes.
Very true. Don't touch your eyes. Oh, my goodness. Let's let Carol take us out of here while I quiver from that. That's very nerve-wracking. We'll be right back. Guitar Hero there in the next room. That's great. Thank you. See, surprise me. That's all right. That's fun.
I like a espresso. Yeah, the Charlie Brown pumpkin, and then I had to throw a little George Harrison.
Yeah.
Cheer down,
Yeah,
baby.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, I love that
You know
song.
what that's like.
Yeah, man.
For me, that's wonderful. I heard two different versions of George Harrison's "My Sweet Lord" yesterday because I was listening to different stuff when I was driving, and I'm amazed at the number of people that can't hear any difference in those things. But he had so many different voices, and of course, then when he's produced by his son, you know, and the long later, it comes out differently because his kid hears a different thing. I mean, it's just delightful what we do with music.
And what movie is that? The outro for that most people like. I know I've heard that song somewhere, but I didn't know.
What is it? What is it? I don't
Lethal
know.
Weapon.
Oh yeah, I guess so. See, that's not high up in my. I've been
I'm
in the
a
room. I've
Lethal
been in the
Weapon.
room when Lethal Weapon was on. But
I'm a Lethal Weapon junkie. I know them all by heart, especially
that's
one
why
and
I count
two.
on you. Somebody has to know that
Kind
stuff
of
for
like Mad
me.
Max. You gotta. Everybody knows the
Tina Turner.
Thunderdome
Yeah.
one. I love 1 and 2, but yeah, the Thunderdome.
Have y'all
was
seen
awesome.
that statue of Tina Turner? There's a statue of Tina Turner in her hometown up in Tennessee, and it's almost as controversial, not quite, but almost as controversial as the one that they did of Lucille Ball in her hometown.
That's pretty bad, isn't it?
It's her hair looks like it's not attached. I mean, it's a lot of hair, and it's a beautiful set of sculpting, but the complaints are about it just doesn't look like her, and I don't know. It kind of has the right moves, but the hair's not right. It's just funny.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, the hair is wow. I mean, it just doesn't
He's already
even
pulled
look
it up.
real.
That's great.
That's not fair to her.
Well, that's what they said about Lucille Ball. You know that.
Look now. If you could have had a crush on somebody as a child, I had it on Tina. You know, I just
yeah,
absolutely
we all
love
did.
Tina Turner. From the voice, the hair, the actress in
The struggle, the overcoming,
everything.
the making it, all of that.
I
all
love
of that.
Tina, man. That was my
Absolutely.
girl.
Okay, here's that one. In Tupelo, the holly bushes, you can rub the black stuff off the leaves. Go.
Sooty mold.
There it is. Yes,
Sooty
that's
mold.
Right, that's right. What should you do at this time of year? Because you're not going to be able to kill the insects that are causing that to happen.
It's a little bit late now, and basically that's just insect remnants.
I would wash the leaves off.
Yeah.
And watch for it if it reappears in the spring. Maybe treat them then. But it's just an insect problem that causes them to be able to put the black stuff. The sooty mold's out there in the air all the time, y'all. I don't know how to tell you this, but when an insect leaves enough sugary residue, so to speak, it lands there and it grows.
Manure.
It is. It's detritus.
You could wash it off. Do your best to wash it off.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Use something mild.
The same thing that you use to wash your car with, the spongy things you can wash the plants with.
I mean,
not the same material, but the same tool. Yeah,
I mean, at this point, it's probably not hurting the holly.
No,
the
if it was completely browned out, I would be worried about it, but it's probably not a problem.
Yeah, it's really an aesthetics thing at this point. You know.
Yeah, your relatives are coming for the holidays. You don't want them to look like that.
Don't pressure wash your holly.
No. But just wash this stuff off.
Wash it off.
And speaking of relatives coming, that's the same thing as that's why a lot of people plant ryegrass. It's because the relatives are coming down from the north in November and December, and we really do like to impress them.
I love
Now, of course, you can always spell out hotty toddy if you've got a slope. You can do that with ryegrass too. That's a lot of fun. But I mean, we have advantages of being gardeners in the deep South that other people don't get to play.
I'll tell you something that I think is a lot of fun too is to take a very pretty, nice pot with potting soil and sow ryegrass in it.
Oh, fun!
And you can just set it around.
You do it with
Yeah.
alfalfa.
I've done that with accidentally with about 30 pots last year when I was planting the rye.
They were pretty, weren't
Oh, they were beautiful
They were
when it came
gorgeous.
in. I had them
Yeah.
peopled all over the yard like I was growing something.
Yeah.
But it was nice. And some
You
of
do
that
alfalfa,
actually,
you get all the cats
Yeah.
from the neighborhood. They'll come visit with you.
Oh yeah, that was a kind of accidental awesomeness.
I like that.
Because all of a sudden I had these potted
Well,
pots had nothing in them that had this
it's
beautiful
another one
rye.
of those things when you got that kind of seed left over and it's just there. You may as well use it to grow some green cover mulch because that's really all you did because it comes up and sprouts
Yeah,
and then you dig it into the soil and it gives the benefits back of a little bit of a nutrition. But in the meantime, it looks great. You know?
Well, when I seed, I'm like a sprinkler. You know, I'm just throwing it as far and as everywhere
Yeah,
I
I
can.
think
and
I'm pretty sure I saw you in the information about how not to sow seed.
yeah, I was growing. I had rye and growing out my ears. Then I threw it out in the pouring down rain too because I kind of got stuck out there in the middle of it. And I will say this: a paper
love
bag,
that.
a 50-pound paper bag, doesn't really react well to
No.
pouring down rain. So
No.
I had it.
They
under
kind
my,
of put it in the paper bag so you know not to put it out in the pouring rain. But that's a whole nother.
like, I gotta hurry this up.
That's a whole nother
But
thing.
yeah, man, I had rye seed in every corner and crevice of every place known to man, and including the yard and dogs, everything. I mean,
Well, I can see why that would happen because it will come up. That's the really good news, especially right after a quick rain like you
I
had.
might plant some on my head. And so, I mean,
I want to
Can
see
you
chia
die?
pet.
Yeah, can you
It's
die?
gonna- It's going to be the human chia pet. I want to see that. I think
Lance
that'd be
Chia
fun.
Pet.
Mm-hmm.
well, I won't let any. I mean, I'll mow it down nice, golf course. height.
I'm going to. This is my big tip for today, y'all. This is the do yourself a favor. Get out there and figure out what you wish had some water. Okay, I try to do this tip usually in the spring because I want you to set your water systems up, whether it's a watering can or a barrel. You may be collecting rain if there's any rain, and you may be using sprinklers, you may be using soakers, you may be calling the in-ground irrigation people. Whatever you're doing, this would be a good year to tell yourself, I didn't do that so well. Maybe I better take a little bit of time and figure out how I'm going to water this garden, or what parts I'm not going to water. The one and only Bob Bruzak tells us that there's every part of your yard either has it's either going to be wet or dry, sunny or shady. Some combination. There's only 4 choices, so it's going to be some combination of those things. And if you know that you want these to get watered, that's where you start first. If you're trying to grow, I don't know, alfalfa in your extra containers or ryegrass or something like, you may or may not need to do that, but you need to figure out watering. It's one of those things, if you figure it out once on your property, you don't have to do it again. Same thing's almost true in your hopes of having like a house garden, indoor plants or a house plant garden. If you're not ready to water them when they need water, you're going to waste a whole lot of time running around wondering what you did with that pitcher or, whatever. So,
I have my watering cans lined up like little soldiers.
yeah, he does, y'all.
I do.
Do
Well,
they have names?
no, not yet.
Not yet.
But they're
That's
cute.
a thought.
Numbers, they're cute.
And it's a lot. It's a lot.
I only have 3, and they're literally completely different things. And then, I've been known to go out and just, grab a cup and start watering stuff. I'll do that too. But it's like trying to decide what tool you're going to use for anything. You can't cut your hair with the same things that necessarily you cut your
Exactly.
toenails with. You know what I mean? You got to figure out the right implement to do the job, and that's why watering cans are different.
I start at the end, keep going, and the last one, I water the dogs.
I like that. And on that note, guess what? We're done for today. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Mark. Thanks to everybody who texted in and called today. Y'all are terrific. We will be back again next week with more Garden Mama Show. Have a good one.